Well, warm greetings to all my friends and foes alike. As we roll out the Ecclesiastical Jural Assembly, it's quite a common question that most people have, and that is, well, how are you going to get anybody to pay any attention to you? What's your enforcement mechanism? Who are you, in other words? What's your authority? And I'm going to address that question very directly in this presentation. And it won't take too long, so let's get right into it. Okay, first of all, what's the relationship between NATF and the World Mission Church and the Jural Assembly? Okay, the NATF functions as an investigation arm, much like the FBI would, and it can do referrals when necessary with criminal complaints to the appropriate authorities, and it will in essence, be the communication arm for the Jural Assembly. Okay, so look at the relationship between the FBI and the DOJ, and the NATF kind of functions like the FBI would on the investigation side. And then if they find from the results of their investigation any need to make criminal referrals, that's what they will do. And we'll get into that specifically here as we go along. And then NATF basically will be the spokesperson or the communicator with outside entities. All right. So that's how NATF functions. Again, you could almost make a similar comparison between the U.S. Marshals and the federal courts. Right. So that clarifies that. So what's the function of the World Mission Church Ecclesiastical Jural Assembly? So the assembly basically is administered by the World Mission Church. It's an ecclesiastical entity driven by its creed, its covenants, its belief systems, and of course the organic natural law, which is God's law. Sole and exclusive jurisdiction to the universe, jurisdiction above all others. Okay, are you starting to get the picture? It can act as an arbitration panel between two parties. Of course, an arbitration panel must be agreed to by both sides, but if you understand tacit agreement, you can see how that can certainly be used, perhaps in favor of an aggrieved individual to get another offending individual into the arbitration, right? And then there are laws that apply to arbitration that can be used to effectively implement the decision of the arbitration panel. It's a fact-finding body. It will review the facts, it will review the law with witnesses, documents, videos, whatever evidence is necessary, and then it will come based on that investigation in the hearings, it will come to a conclusion, at which point that conclusion would be written up and the appropriate documents would be issued to the parties involved. Okay, so we start out by shining a light on the misdeeds of any transgressors of rights, property, emotions, finances, I mean, you name it. And of course, you know, there are violations of oath that do occur from time to time. There's violations of law. There's violations of ethics that might be outside the law, but still equally valid in terms of a moral code. And then these violations are fully documented. All right, so that an individual bringing an issue to a hearing as a finding of fact can have a fully documented result of what we're looking at in terms of violations. Now, those violations may incur penalties, damages, and the like, just like, in life. I mean, there's consequences to actions, to misdeeds. So the first line of approach is to make a direct appeal with the offending party, head to head. This is the biblical approach. If you're offended by your brother, you go to him privately and make an appeal to have him restore you back to whole again. All right? This is eternal maxim of law enunciated in the Bible. All right? So we go with a private appeal and say, hey, brother, you've messed me up a little bit here, and I'm asking you to fix this. All right? We do that with a notice in demand, putting you on notice of these violations, and I'm demanding that you restore me back to whole and fix this problem. All right? From our experience in dealing with godless public servants, it's not at all unusual for them to ignore that demand. But that demand comes along with the fee schedule. And essentially, the notice and demand is, we can settle this now, on the more favorable terms. Or if you want to ignore this or rebuke this in any way, then I have this fee schedule that if you fail to respond to, you agreed to by your tacit admission. And that fee schedule might very well involve personal damages, fines that are imposed by the law, and the like. Okay, so the notice and demand then is an opportunity to cure and then forgive the other party if he does. Okay, we can walk away from this, and I don't know if we'll be friends or not, but we can settle the score and act in honor and do the right thing. Typically, they don't. So when they default, this results in an invoice for the fees that you have included in your notice and demand. So it's tacit agreement to those fees based on that action, based on their action or lack of action in many cases. That invoice then becomes substantiated. So we now have a commercial instrument with which to work. All right? That starts a whole new process in commercial law. So typically, we will publish a notice of claim 3 times in the legal notices. I have a claim for this amount against so-and-so. Anybody who has an objection to this claim needs to contact me. Or if you wish further details, contact me at this place or address or email. Typically, that'll be published without response or reply. All right, so you put it out to the public. You've made the parties of interest aware of this. I mean, this, again, is public, so there's no excuse not to be aware of it. And so then we can issue an affidavit of commercial obligation with tacit agreement, which results from the default. Typically, they laugh at you and ignore your paperwork, okay? But this is a commercial process, and it has to be dealt with. All right, so we have the commercial obligation. They've agreed to it according to the fee schedule that was in your notice and demand. So now you have substantive claim combined with the published notice to file a UCC lien. Okay? You've got all the supporting paperwork and legalities covered. You file the lien. You can then do an asset search for the offending party, find out what they have, and then start negotiating with collectors if you want to sell that lien, for a percentage of the amount. Okay? It takes the whole thing off your hands. You get liquidated, you get monetized, and give that lien to someone else to go and collect. And guess what? You just caused a whole world of hurt for the offending parties who want to ignore you. Okay? Now, a wise man once said, "There is a court to which I shall appeal, the court of public opinion." And that is a very powerful court when your case is presented properly. Let's look at that. In the court of public opinion, all right, you've got the lien, you've got the notices, you've got the collectors on the case, all right, that's one thing. Now we go start distributing explanatory videos of how that offender has violated his oath, violated the law, and he's not serving the people according to his contract. So what does that do to that individual in the eyes of the public? You can come to your own conclusions on that, but this can be done. Videos sent to his padres, his cohorts, where he works, in the locale where he lives, and people that know him. This will put a pretty fair amount of pressure on that individual. "Hey, Sam, did you see that video that's floating around? I got a video the other day. It's all about you. Doesn't look too good, actually. What are you going to do about it?" All right. And you can imagine what kind of mood that'll put the person in. We put together documentary articles outlining step by step the violations, what happened, when, where, and just kind of tell the story and get those articles out. Various places over the internet. Include that as a press release to the local media. Local media picks up on it. "Hey, we've got a rogue judge, in our local court." TV reporters maybe go out, do a couple interviews, and start putting that out to the people. All right. And then, of course, there's the endless universe of podcasts. All right. Get a couple podcast interviews out there talking about what this judge is doing, and send that link around the podcast universe. So that's a pretty fair amount of pressure right there. So then we get to the criminal referrals. And much like the FBI refers criminal cases, criminal referrals to the DOJ, NATF will be doing the same thing. First of all, we'll be contacting the local sheriff, the DA, and the attorney general of the state. These are all local officials, putting them on notice that, hey, you have a duty to do. Are you going to do it? This may very well lead to further action against these individuals if they refuse to do their duty. And we start the whole process over again. You can swear out a criminal complaint. Do that with the U.S. Marshals or in front of a federal judge. Do that with a provost marshal at an Army base. Swear out a complaint by affidavit. Send it to all the appropriate parties that need to know about that, the oversight groups, including the State Bar Ethics Committee. You can, obviously, you want to contact the company that holds the indemnity bond. If that's an insurance company or a self-funded trust fund that the county has, they might be self-funded, which happens from time to time. So they need to know about it, and you need to file a claim with them. Then you've got the inspectors general, for example, and the FHFA. These people are duly tasked to look into irregularities within the entities, the organs that they are tasked to deal with. All right. Then you've got the Consumer Protection Bureau if it relates to consumer activity, mortgages, credit cards, things like that, with the Federal Trade Commission. All right. You've got an opportunity to start filing tax reporting forms for these folks with the IRS We've done trainings on that specifically. They're creating bonds and trading in big dollars on your name, your case, whatever they've got going on with you. They're making big money on that, and they're not reporting their taxes. All right. So these are some of the referrals that NATF can make once we have a finding of fact from the Ecclesiastical Jural Assembly. All right. So think about it. How would you like to be on the other end of all that? All right. I love this picture of this dog. I mean, that's the look on the face that you're going to see on your judge once he realizes what kind of a buzzsaw he's run into. And if we start getting enough of these things, these processes going on, guess what? NATF and the Jural Society is going to start to get some attention. All right? Going to get a little bit of respect. And it's not so much the organizations, it's you, it's we, the people. We are the people rising up, demanding justice, using every tool in the kit that we can to proceed on a lawful basis. All right? So think about it. Now, you want justice? The question is, what are you willing to do? All right? It's not going to happen by itself. You can see we've got the jackboot of tyranny on our necks right now with the corruption in the courts. And if you don't stand up and do something about it, it's just going to continue. So, first of all, get involved and be active. Get engaged in the conversation. Follow up on the research. Get that down in your own brain. Be involved in the Jural Assembly. Volunteer to be a juror. Get involved in other ways. Okay, you can volunteer. There are a myriad of things that average everyday people can do. Can you send emails? Once we have an article exposing the findings of fact in one case, can you send that to the local media? Can you send it to podcasters? Are you a copywriter? Can you write? Can you write articles? Are you willing and able to be a juror? All right? There's a number of things that you can do. And then you can contribute to the NATF American Justice Trust. We've talked about this here recently in one of our trainings. A trust is established basically to raise funds to push these cases forward. And as you can see, once we start getting into collections, the amounts are quite significant. So as we start accumulating cases and collection efforts, a portion of what's received in the collections activity will come back to the trust and be shared with the certificate unit holders of that trust. So, for example, are you putting away so much every month into an IRA? All right. Well, why don't you put it into the American Justice Trust and have the potential for a much greater return? Make monthly contributions, lump sum contributions. This could be a part of your retirement plan, and all serving a wonderful purpose in the process that's not being served right now with your current arrangements. Okay, so we can get you more information on that in another presentation. So the base camp and the outposts for this activity, you can find, first of all, be a subscriber to our fireside chats. We meet every Wednesday night. We have a huge library of research documents, templates, sample documents, training, information, conversational sessions, learning on a variety of different topics. You can't beat it. Subscribe to our fireside chats and get involved there. All right. Then you've got the NATF.world website. You can learn more about NATF. And then World Missions Church is at worldmissions.world. learn more about what our creed and our covenants are. The whole theme for World Mission Church is essentially to come out of Babylon. Come out of Babylon. Come out of her, my people. Do not participate in her misdeeds so as not to share in her plagues. That's right out of Revelations. So we are instructed to come out of Babylon, and I could not recommend a higher priority in anyone's life. That's what we're doing. We're taking matters into our own hands, and we're saying enough corruption, abuse, and tyranny. Enough. We're not taking it anymore. All right? We're restoring the republic back to the rule of law, the Constitution, the way it was intended, and the organic, natural law of the universe, which is the highest authority there is, exclusive and original jurisdiction, which is the kingdom of heaven. Thus, Ecclesiastical Jural Society. So, folks, think of others in history who have paid the ultimate price, very serious price, so that you can have a certain amount of freedom in your life. Think of those sacrifices and then compare that to what you're doing. What are you willing to do to secure freedom? It doesn't come without a price. So the question is, what small price are you willing to pay by being involved with us here? That's where we're going, folks. That's where we are. There is no greater enforcement short of the military, and we're working on that as well. So join us. Take care. Welcome to the team, and God bless. See you soon.